Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks of the resellermindset.com. And today I want to talk to you about a question I have is, are resellers getting worse? Now, what I mean by this is I was watching a reseller video and he was talking about how people in his area, and he's in a completely different part of the country than I am, how they're getting worse. And he's seen people, and for example, he was talking about the bins and these people who went through the entire bins and they go wait along the wall waiting for more new bins to come out. If you don't know how the Goodwill bins, the Goodwill outlet stores work, they are these big blue bins. They might be different colors in different areas, but they're these big bins that they just throw stuff in. It could be clothing, shoes, printers, books, whatever. It depends on the region, but for most people, they're going there for clothes. That's the largest amount of inventory they have is clothing. And on schedules, they bring out new bins and take out the old bins, kind of recycling and getting new stuff onto the floor. And so while other people are going through the bins and finding stuff, these people only go through the brand new bins that just came out, and then they wait along the wall for new bins to come out, which might take 30 minutes or an hour. And he was talking about how when he went through the bins, they were finding a bunch of good stuff that these people had just went through. And this got me thinking, because I had noticed this with some other people. And like, I know this reseller, I've talked to him for years. I see him in thrift stores around my area very often. I talk to him whenever I see him. And he's still, I've showed him how to look up sold items on eBay, for example, numerous times. And he'll come up to me and say, hey, look what I found. Look how much it's selling for. And I'll say, well, did you check sold listings? How'd I do that? I've told this guy 3 or 4 times how to do it over the years. And by told, I should clarify that I mean I actually took his phone and showed him on his phone how to do it. So it wasn't like I just told him, oh, go check sold and left it at that. I showed him how to do it. It's just amazing to me that resellers aren't learning. Now, that's just one individual, so I just chalked that up to it being that guy. I didn't think much of it. But I started observing similar things at the bins, for example. I'd be there. The people would go through like vultures when the brand new stuff came out, pick things. And I just stood back because I'm not going to get in that feeding frenzy. It doesn't matter. There's plenty of inventory. And I'd go through after all those people who were just waiting for the new bins to come out, after they went through it all. And I find good stuff like Filson and just high-end stuff. And even brands, maybe they don't know Filson. I get that because it's not too commonly found. I get that. But there'll be Ralph Lauren. There'll be, vintage stuff that's everybody knows about. And they pass it up. They leave it behind. Now, my point in this is not to criticize other resellers. They can do whatever they want. Maybe their business model is buying bad inventory and they have some place where people buy that stuff up. They don't want the higher quality or higher value items. I don't know. But what I do know is I find so many resellers who don't seem to be growing. That's why it's important you watch content like this. Now, probably if you're watching this content, you're probably not one of those people. But you might be. You might be kind of stagnating. You need to be growing and learning. I've been reselling for decades now. I've been reselling back since the days when there was Amazon auctions, which nobody today knows about. Yahoo auctions, of course, eBay, and even eCrater, things like that I don't even know if eCrater is even around anymore. But I've been reselling for a long time, way before we had any kind of tools to know the likelihood of something selling. We didn't have Amazon seller rank. We didn't have eBay sold listings. We were just going in blind on a lot of stuff. There's more resellers today than there has been at any point in time that I've seen, but the quality of the reseller is down dramatically. So many people are approaching it because they saw some reseller talking about, I made $70 off this. I made $500 selling this $10 item. And it's like a lottery ticket to them. It's a get-rich-quick scheme. And they're not putting in the requisite effort to study and learn so they can go out there and make the best decisions in their business. And this is also one of the reasons why you see so many resellers dropping out of reselling, because they don't have root in them. They haven't learned. They haven't really got to the level they should get to because they haven't really been growing and improving themselves, because a big part of business is your character. You grow as a person. You improve as a person. I look at my business as a Christian that God is my CEO and I'm working and doing my work unto the Lord. That produces a very different result from the person who just treats it like a hobby, treats it like a side hustle or whatever things people try to say. They're not going to take it as seriously as somebody who's doing it with a deeper purpose. I want to encourage you to make sure that you are growing in your reselling business. Make sure you are improving. You're keeping up to date on things going on in the business. eBay has updates that come out. You should read them and be informed about what's going on. If you're selling on eBay, if you're not selling eBay, maybe it doesn't matter for you. But it might matter because a lot of times we see the different platforms copying each other. So if eBay's doing something, you might need to be aware. Poshmark might start doing that too. Mercari might start doing that. Or vice versa. Poshmark does something and eBay starts doing it. But it's important that we keep up to date on stuff. And one of the easiest things you can do is just research items regularly. Now you should, when you walk into a thrift store, for example, or a flea market or whatever, you should have a base level of knowledge. You can go in there and find stuff without having to look them up. Now, I'm not telling you to be one of those people. I've seen people do this where they just, well, I don't need to look it up. It's kind of like an ego thing for them. And they're buying a bunch of junk. They get home and they find out none of this stuff is worth buying. Look up anything you need to. It doesn't matter. But you do need a base level of knowledge, because I've seen so many people and they've been reselling for years, and they'll go into a thrift store and I'll be with them trying to help them, and I observe what they're doing, and they go for the worst things. They will literally walk past a good item to grab a bad item. It's almost like they have some sort of system to find the worst items. But I attribute that to the fact these people do not spend any time researching. They're not knowledgeable about the products they're trying to sell, and they don't put in the effort. And I'm not telling you got to spend 10 hours a day, but you should invest some time regularly into learning about the types of items you're buying and reselling and the different dollar amounts. You know, even in brands, there could be a brand that's bad. I'll give you an example of this. Gloria Vanderbilt for women's clothing is terrible in the pre-owned category. I don't know what it is right now. I haven't checked because I don't even waste my time with it. But at one point it was like 5% sell-through rate in 90 days, which means it would take years potentially to sell a used Gloria Vanderbilt item. But, and I see these resellers passing it all the time, but I've purchased numerous brand new Gloria Vanderbilt items that sell within days. Now, I don't know what the eBay sell-through rate says right now for that either, but I know that every time I pick them up new, they sell quickly. People skip those all the time because it's just Gloria Vanderbilt. That's not worth anything. Or it's not going to sell, even if it is worth something. It's going to take a long time. That's just some basic thing you need to understand and learn. And so if you have to look up every single item you grab at the thrift store or the bins or wherever, do that. Put in the work. Now, it's better if you put in the work in the comfort of your home or your office where you can just research. You can't do that deep research at the bins, but you can do some research at least. Another thing to consider is not just knowledge of brands and what's valuable and what's not. That's obviously important. But another thing to consider is your strategies. What are you doing? Do you have a strategy for each thrift store you're going in? Some thrift stores are very different. Some are very clothing heavy. Some are very media heavy or electronics heavy or toy heavy. What are you going in there looking for in that particular store? Because here's the thing. In any store, you could spend hours going through everything and find some good stuff. You also could skip a bunch of stuff and maybe pass over hundreds or thousands of dollars worth of profit potentially. You can't spend all day long at a thrift store. So you need to develop a plan. Too many people's plan is so scattered, just going all over the place and randomly picking up a thing here and there. At first, at least, especially if you're new, or even if you're not new, you could be doing this for 10 years and not be very good at it. And if you're honest enough with yourself to realize you've been treating it like a hobby, you haven't been really investing your time to learn and grow in it, then you can still grow and improve and do better in your business. And narrowing down to a niche, whether it's selling books or toys or plush or clothing or shoes or whatever, it could be really advantageous for you to start in one category and focus on that only. I'd rather you go to 3 thrift stores looking for shoes only than to stay all day in one thrift store looking at a bunch of junk. Now, as you grow and as you improve in your business, you can expand that to other categories. And you could sell everything. I don't care. You can do whatever you want. It's your business. I'm just saying practical advice for you to get the best results would be to at least focus on one category so you can get in depth in that category, get knowledgeable, become an expert in it, because you'll do way better as an expert in that than a person who doesn't know anything about a whole variety of categories, which is where a lot of resellers are. And you see it every single day by the stuff they pass up. That is just easy money sitting there, and they walk right past it, or they even pick it up and then put it down because it's something they don't know about. And they don't even have the intellectual curiosity to look it up. You can do exceptionally well in the reselling business, but you have to grow as a person. Your character has to improve. You have to grow in your knowledge in your business. You can't just go based on last year's knowledge. Trends change. Some things that were selling well go out of style or out of popularity or just completely implode and nobody wants them anymore. You have to be up to date and knowledgeable about your items that you're going to buy to resell and constantly learning and growing in this area, because if you don't, unfortunately, you might end up as one of these resellers who's quitting eBay or quitting Amazon or quitting Mercari or Poshmark or whatever. They're quitting reselling because they couldn't handle it, because they didn't do the work that would have led to them being successful. I'm not one of these people that says reselling is hard. I believe it's easy, but obviously you can build up and get to a level that it does become hard, but it's not because it's a difficult business. Matter of fact, if people put the same 8 hours they put into a regular job into their reselling business, they would be doing so exceptionally well. It would just blow their minds. But too often people become the worst boss they've ever had because they let themselves get by with stuff. They let themselves take time off. And, oh, I don't have to work today. I'm just a reseller. I don't have to work today if I don't want to. And they just don't put in the same effort they would do if they had a boss looking over their shoulder, demanding they work that day. If you treat this like a real business and you put in the work to learn, maybe you don't have any sales today. Okay? That doesn't mean you don't do anything in your business. You can research, you can look up stuff. Okay, I sold this item before. Let me look at other items that brand makes so I can keep an eye out for things that might be profitable. You can do a lot of research that makes you knowledgeable, so when you do go to a thrift store or a flea market or whatever, you know when you see an item, immediately that's a profitable item, instead of being like someone else who just walks right past it and ignores that $100 profit that was easily available to them. I'll give you an example and I'll close with this. I purchased an item today and it was a big boom box from the 90s, worth a couple $100. It was $15.99. People had walked right past it, didn't even look at it. Now, it was on a lower shelf, and that is a hint for many resellers. Top shelves and lower shelves can be hiding very profitable items that pathetically many resellers are too lazy to even look. They're too lazy to look, bend down, too lazy to look up. They're just looking at eye level. This was easy money, just sitting there. One of the first things you see when you go into this thrift store, and no one got it. But I did. I saw it, and immediately, before I even looked it up, I looked it up because I'd never seen this one before. It was very unique, but I knew I was getting it. I was just curious about how much was it worth. And that's something you'll get with more knowledge, and as you grow in your business and continue to grow, you'll be able to see stuff and immediately know it's worth buying, Even if you have no knowledge of that actual item, you never sold that model before, but you know that's a valuable item. So I just want to encourage you today. Don't ever let up on your knowledge and on your learning. Continue to learn each and every day. Continue to grow in your business. Continue to excel and become the greatest success you can be. This is not for you to be a hobby seller. You need to become that great, successful, full-time seller who at least makes 6 figures, but why not go for 7 figures? That may seem very hard and difficult, but at least that's a good goal to have. And you can do it, my friend, if you avoid being like so many resellers today who are just not improving and they're not growing. Don't be that stagnant person. Be that person that's growing in your knowledge each and every day. And I encourage you to continue to watch my Reseller Friday videos because they will help you grow in your knowledge and they'll help you grow in your business and your success so you can become that success that you should be as a reseller. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.